The moment Crown Prince Ningyi knelt down, he didn't feel humiliated. Instead, he wanted to see Jin Jun's expression. Sha Zhao would be very satisfied, right? The age difference between the Crown Prince and Jin Jun was not big, and the two of them could be considered to have grown up together. When they were in the capital, Jin Jun had been a hostage since he was young, so Crown Prince Ningyi was full of superiority in front of him. Of course, Ning Yuanxian had given Jin Jun a very high reputation. At that time, there was a saying that one could defame anyone in Yu country, including the Crown Prince, but one could not defame Jin Jun. But a hostage was still a hostage. After Jin Jun's father was killed by Yu country, he went to Yu country to study in name. According to the agreement, he could return to Nan Yu country to inherit the throne after he came of age. However, Ning Yuanxian had delayed him for a long time with various reasons. It was not until Ning Yuanxian felt that the state affairs of the South Phoenix country were completely in his hands that he let Jin Jun go. In order to be able to return to the South Phoenix country smoothly, how many things had Jun Jin done? Do your best. Of course, the so-called doing things was not groveling. Ning Yuanxian was a very strange person. The more inferior you appeared, the more he disliked you. For more than 10 years, Jin Jun had always been very considerate, even more so than Ning Yuanxian's sons. Moreover, he acted more like a Vietnamese than the people of Yu country. He was always speaking for the interests of Yu country and the king of Yu, Ning Yuanxian. In front of the Crown Prince, he also acted like he was half a ruler, loyal and close. Under these circumstances, Crown Prince Ningyi was of course high and mighty in front of Jin Jun. On the surface, Ningyi was very similar to Ning Yuanxian, both exquisitely arrogant. And Ningyi's sense of superiority was even stronger than Ning Yuanxian's. He was the eldest son of the emperor, and he had the support of the Zhu family and Princess Ninghan's Sky Sea Pavilion. Ever since he was young, he had always looked at Jin Jun like a servant. The river flows east for 10 years and turns west for 10 years. At this moment, Ningyi knelt in front of Jin Jun, wagging his tail and begging for mercy. He felt that Jin Jun would definitely feel extremely satisfied and would definitely be unable to hide her pride. He looked up. There was no smugness on Jin Jun's face. Instead, he looked a little lonely and regretful. At his level, there was no need for him to pretend anymore, so why did he have to have such an expression? Jin Jun had grown up under Ning Yuanxian. He had complicated feelings for Ning Yuanxian. There was definitely hatred. After all, Ning Yuanxian had killed his father and taken his country. But Ning Yuanxian was indeed very good to him, and could be said to be meticulous. He, Ning Luo, Ning Qi, Ning Yi, and the others were indeed like brothers. Once, he was very envious of Ning Yi, a true golden branch and jade leaf. He often fantasized about how he would manage the Yu country if he had a background like Ning Yi. This idea had accompanied him for many years. In his mind, he had ruled Yu country countless times to become the strongest country in the south. It was precisely because of this line of thought that Ning Yuanxian was at ease with him. He felt that this man was definitely close to the state of Yu. Once the act was deeply acted, it was inevitable that one would be immersed in the act. And now, Ning Yi's performance was so unbearable. Jin Jun was happy, but at the same time, he felt very regretful. "Is His Majesty well?" Jin Jun asked. The Crown Prince was startled. Then, he said with tears in his eyes, "Not very good. After he fell ill last year, his physical condition has been very bad. No matter how hard he tries to hide it, his hands still tremble sometimes." Ning Yuanxian had concealed it very well, but in the end, it was still seen through. Jin Jun frowned. "Ning Yi, do you have to put on an act in front of me? You don't have any father-son relationship with the Prince of Yu, and you look down on him in your heart. Now that you're acting like you're crying, are you trying to remind me of my childhood memories and make me forgive you?" Jin Jun had nothing to say. This was different from his youth. Back then, he had been talkative, especially fond of conversing with scholars. He would often talk late at night with a candle in hand, making it seem abnormal. He had even replaced Ning Yuanxian as an envoy to the Yen capital, and his performance had been outstanding, completely like that of an impassioned scholar. On the other hand, he was rather reticent now. "Brother-in-law, how's my big sister?" the Crown Prince asked. Jin Jun nodded. It's all right. It's relatively calm. Then, the two of them faced each other again without saying anything. Have a good rest, said Jin Jun after a while. Their meeting officially ended. Crown Prince Ning entered the cabin uneasily, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Because he couldn't see through Jin Jun, and he didn't know how he would treat himself. What was his fate next? After Jin Jun captured Ning Yi, he didn't make any stops and directly sailed towards the east. 12 hours later, more than a dozen ships had docked. Crown Prince Ning Yi was brought down, and then he couldn't help but be startled. This was because Jin Jun and the others had completely changed their clothes and were dressed exactly like the army of Yu State. Moreover, he was flying Ning Yi's flag. He understood what Jin Jun was going to do. He wanted Ning Yi to trick Autumnfall. Can I? Jin Jun asked. There was no threat, no persuasion, just a simple question. Crown Prince Ning Yi bitterly nodded. Jin Jun led 2,000 men and set off under the banner of Crown Prince Ning Yi. Ning Yi found that this group of people was marching too fast, and they were still moving as if they were flying in the mountains and jungles. And when there was a road, he walked very quickly, and when there was no road, he also walked very quickly. The 2,000 people were silent. Jin Jun was also walking instead of riding a horse. Even when he was walking, he was completely silent and didn't have the posture of a country's ruler at all. Only Ning Yi and the medic were riding horses. Just 4 hours later, 2,000 people arrived at the city of Autumnfall. The speed was really fast. At this time, it had only been 2 days since Ning Yi abandoned the 10,000 cavalrymen and fled. Of course, Nangong Ao had already sent the most elite scouts to Autumnfall City to report the news of the main force. But it was useless. The cavalrymen's route was fixed, and they were all killed by the Sand primitive warriors. So what the people in Autumnfall City knew was the news from a few days ago. They had no idea that the Crown Prince had escaped, let alone that the Crown Prince had been captured. Go! Jin Jun said. There was still no threat. Crown Prince Ning Yi rode forward on his horse and roared, Where's the Fallen Leaves City's General Zhu Tang? Zhu Tang, Zhu Lin's cousin, did not have a high status. A general on the city gate saw the Crown Prince and was stunned. His Highness the Crown Prince was so fast? Your Highness! At this moment, a thought flashed through Ning Yi's mind. If I were a hero, I would be shouting, it's a trap. Jin Jun is behind me. In that case, I, Ning Yi, should be able to regain my dignity, right? But it was a pity. Hypothetically, it would always be just a hypothesis. He, Ning Yi, would always be an exquisite egoist, not a hero. Where's Zhu Tang? Open the door. Crown Prince Ning Yi said. Yes. Without any surprise, the gate of Autumnfall City opened. What a joke, His Highness the Crown Prince is here. You dare to first report to the Lord of the Zhu Hall before opening the door. Jin Jun led 2,000 people and entered Autumnfall City. 6 hours later, Autumnfall fell. Originally, there were 9,000 defenders, 4,000 soldiers of the Yu country, and 5,000 servant soldiers of the South Phoenix country in the city. The 4,000 soldiers of the Yu state were all killed. 5,000 servant soldiers of the Southern Phoenix Nation had surrendered to Jin Jun. Now, Jin Jun's forces in Autumnfall City had increased to 7,000. 2 days later, after many hardships, Nangong Ao led 2,500 cavalrymen to Autumnfall City. It had not been easy on the way. Hundreds of Sand primitive warriors had launched sneak attacks on them. It was a devastating experience. Nangong Ao's 2,500 cavalrymen were almost exhausted. Looking up, the entire city of Autumnfall was still the flag of Yu country, with the word Zhu still hanging on it. He couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. However, he was still on high alert. He shouted at the city gate, Where's Zhu Tang? After a while, the Fallen Leaves City's General Zhu Tang appeared in his field of vision. Nangong Ao heaved a sigh of relief, but he still did not dare to let down his guard completely. He was really scared of Jin Jun. He judged in his heart that if Zhu Tang had not surrendered, then his first question would be to ask where the Crown Prince was. Where was Zhu Lin? Zhu Tang asked, Nangong Shumi, where is the Crown Prince? Where is Great General Zhu Lin? Nangong Ao replied, General Zhu Lin is leading the main force behind us. They will arrive in a few days. The Crown Prince will also be here soon. Of course, he would not say that the Crown Prince had fled. Although he despised him, he still had to maintain the dignity of the Crown Prince. If the Crown Prince had fled, it would be a huge blow to the morale of the Fallen Leaf City. Open the gates. Prepare the provisions. The entire city is on high alert. Nangong Ao said coldly. The city gates slowly opened. Nangong Ao led 2,500 cavalrymen and rushed into Autumnfall City. However, for some reason, Lao Ai's heart trembled when he charged through the city gate. There was a very uneasy feeling. What's wrong? I can't think of anything. Everything was normal. The guards of Autumnfall were not elites, so it was normal for the army to be a little loose. That's right, Zhu Tang's expression was not right. Although he was a member of the Zhu family, because he was not a direct descendant, Nangong Ao's attitude was usually very humble and warm when he saw him. Today, it was a little stiff. Nangong Ao thought to himself as he instinctively pulled the reins. However, he didn't leave the city immediately. Instead, he asked himself if he was overthinking. And at this moment, the city gate behind them closed with a rumble. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The arrows fell like rain. When they entered the city, Nangong Ao's 2,000 cavalrymen were so crowded. It was completely conceivable. Thus, the rain of arrows didn't need to be aimed at all, and in an instant, it had reached the hundreds of warhorses. A series of tragic cries rang out. The warhorses fell to the ground and piled up into a wall of meat. And then, Jin Jun's army of a few thousand appeared. Thousands of bows and arrows were aimed at Nangong Ao's 2,000 cavalrymen. Not good, I've been tricked. Nangong Ao's eyes were about to burst. Rush out and run. Open the city gates. Nangong Ao roared and ordered. However, the city gate could not be opened. It was locked from the outside. Charge over and kill our way into the city. Nangong Ao ordered again. But it was impossible. He couldn't accelerate or charge in such a short distance. Moreover, Jin Jun had shot the horses in the first wave, and the hundreds of horses were either dead or injured, lying on the ground and becoming a huge obstacle. Not to mention that there were many obstacles piled up with sand in the city. The cavalrymen could not charge out at all and were trapped here. Jin Jun appeared again. General Nangong, I've killed all the soldiers of your state in the city, but I want to keep the cavalry under your command. Most of them should be your direct subordinates, right? You surrender? Jin Jun asked. Surrender to Jin Jun? Nangong Ao had never thought about this. He was already a minister in Yu State, and it was impossible for him to be promoted again. Even if they surrendered, they wouldn't be able to obtain any higher honor. Moreover, the so-called Great Southern Kingdom was just a barbarian. But Nangong Ao had to think about it now. Jin Jun didn't urge him and just waited quietly. There was still no threat or persuasion. Nangong Ao made a choice between life and death. If they didn't surrender, the entire army was annihilated. He would die. His son, Nangong Xia, would also die. Even his family would be destroyed. Nangong Ao was the northern general who held a post in Tianbei province, but his family was in Tiannan province. As mentioned before, when the new policy came, the Jin family was under the big tree of the Nangong family. Although Nangong Ao was a marquis, he was promoted later. His family's fief was not large, and he did not have many private armies. However, his family's roots were all in Tiannan province. Now, the defeat of the South Phoenix nation was a foregone conclusion. Next, the entire Tiannan province would be empty, and the army of Jin Jun would sweep across the entire south of Yu country. At that time, the Nangong family's territory would not be spared either. If they surrendered, their family might still be able to survive. If they didn't surrender? When Jin Jun's army went north, his family was annihilated. But if they surrendered, Nangong Ao's reputation was ruined. However, the most important thing was still the continuation of the family. What did reputation matter? If I, Nangong Ao, surrender, could the clan be preserved? He should be able to. Jin Jun should be very magnanimous. He could even hand over the main army to Su Nan. How magnanimous was he? Obviously, they can also tolerate me, Nangong Ao. The great southern kingdom needed balance. The power of the Sand primitive tribe was too great, and Su Nan was not enough. However, surrendering was really shameful. Nangong Ao dismounted from his warhorse and came in front of Jin Jun. He knelt down on both knees and raised his sword over his head. "I surrender." Jin Jun nodded and said, "All right, show your sincerity." Nangong Ao was stunned, and then he looked at Zhu Tang at the side. And NBSP, Zhu Tang immediately knelt down and kowtowed. "Your Majesty, I'm still useful. I'm still useful." "It's useless." Nangong Ao stepped forward and slashed down with his sword. Zhu Tang's head was cut off and he died a tragic death. "Not enough, cut off one of Ning Yi's arms," Jin Jun said. As soon as these words came out, Ning Yi was greatly shocked and said in a trembling voice, "Jin Jun, brother-in-law, why? Why?" Ning Yi felt that he was the prince of Yu country after all. Once he surrendered to Jin Jun, his life should not be in danger. Now, Ying actually wanted to cut off his arm? Was Lao Ai, this sovereign, actually so temperamental? Nangong Ao's heart trembled at this moment. If he killed Zhu Tang, he might be able to turn back in Yu country in the future. If he chopped off one of Crown Prince Ning Yi's arms, then he would never be able to turn back and could only be loyal to Jin Jun forever. This demure man was magnanimous, but he was not naive at all. However, King Luo, Nangong Ao had no other choice. Moreover, his heart was also filled with resentment towards Ning. If it wasn't for your incompetence as the Crown Prince, the situation wouldn't have fallen to this state. Nangong Ao, you dare to ridicule me. Crown Prince Ning immediately roared after seeing Nangong Ao's expression. These words instead aroused Nangong Ao's anger. He directly walked over with his sword. When Crown Prince Ning Yi saw this, he immediately ran away. However, how could he outrun Nangong Ao? Nangong Ao caught up with him in a few steps and slashed down with his sword. Ning Yi cried out in pain. His entire left arm was cut off. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and he almost fainted. And NBSP, two Great Tribulation Temple doctors rushed forward to stop Ning Yi's bleeding to prevent him from dying from blood loss. Everyone watched this scene quietly. Just now, when Nangong Ao surrendered, the cavalry behind him actually heaved a sigh of relief. When he had cut off the Crown Prince's left arm, the 2,000 cavalrymen had actually revealed a look of satisfaction. Obviously, they also hated the Crown Prince for betraying them at the critical moment. After this battle, the 2,000 cavalrymen had lost all their confidence from Jin Jun's ravaging. They had even been tortured to the point of worship. Now that he had surrendered to Jin Jun, he actually didn't have much of a psychological barrier. It was better to follow a hero like Jin Jun than a person like Crown Prince Ning Yi. Jin Jun nodded at Nangong Ao and said, "Your soldiers will still be under your command. Have a good rest. The rations have been prepared. There shouldn't be any more battles to fight. Take a good rest. This minister will obey your decree." Nangong Ao knelt down and kowtowed again. Jin Jun waved his hand, and his thousands of troops stepped aside. Nangong Ao was stunned. He didn't disarm me, didn't give me any military power, and didn't even mix sand into my cavalry. "Your Majesty, I have a son, Nangong Xie, who would like to learn from your Majesty," Nangong Ao said. As expected of an experienced official, he took the initiative to send his son to Jin Jun's side as a hostage to express his attitude. Jin Jun nodded. Nangong Xie left the cavalrymen and came to Jin Jun's side. "Let's go and settle down first. We'll have dinner together later." At this point, Jin Jun's army in the city of Autumnfall had reached about 10,000. The Crown Prince and Nangong Ao both surrendered. Only Zhu Lin and Zhang Zhao were left in the main force of Yu State. In the capital of the Nan nation, Zhang Zhao led 50,000 troops to bring up the rear. Su Nan had arrived with 30,000 Sand barbarian main forces. 30,000 against 50,000. Zhang Zhao was very brave, but there was no use crying over it. The difference between the two sides was too great, be it in terms of combat power or morale. Just 4 hours later, Zhang Zhao's army was completely defeated. The 50,000-strong army suffered countless casualties, and many of them fled. Zhang Zhao led his 10,000-strong army to escape and catch up with Zhu Lin's main forces. At this time, the main force of the Yu country in the South Ou country was only left with 110,000 soldiers. But the nightmare was only the beginning. The road to Autumnfall was a few hundred miles, passing through mountains and jungles. Zhu Lin led 30,000 sand barbarian soldiers to crazily attack and chase after them. He didn't fight a decisive battle, just like chasing a duck. He would kill as he rushed. The 110,000 troops of Yu country would not be able to move in peace, nor would they be able to defend in peace. In this damn place, the army could not display its power at all. When the 110,000-strong army set up camp, it stretched out for dozens of miles. Furthermore, it was a single-line snake formation. This kind of formation was completely passive, but there was no other way. There was no open space at all. In fact, Zhu Lin had already understood. When Yu country lost the capital of Nan and country, they had already lost this battle. It was 400 miles away from Autumnfall City, and the army marched less than 30 miles a day. It would take at least half a month to get there. Zhang Zhao was still bringing up the rear. However, no matter how many troops he brought to cover the retreat, the result was the same. The number of soldiers in the army was decreasing every day. There were people running away every day. Even though they were in the territory of the southern Ou nation, there were jungles and mountains everywhere. In fact, it was impossible to run out of it. One would definitely get lost. However, the entire army's aura was too despairing and oppressive. The fifth day, the 110,000-strong army had lost more than 30,000 members. The remaining 70,000 to 80,000 people had completely collapsed. The reason why they didn't run was that they felt that it was slightly safer to be in a crowded place. The forest of this damned place was like the mouth of the devil. After entering, one might not be able to come out. At night, in the camp of the Yu army, Zhu Lin and Zhang Zhao had a secret conversation. "We're finished. Nangong Ao and the Crown Prince should have arrived at Autumnfall City long ago," Zhu Kong said. "They should have sent messengers, but they didn't. The messenger should have been intercepted and killed," Zhang Zhao said. "There's only one way." "Maybe," Zhu Kong said, "but look at Su Nan. His 30,000-strong army could have annihilated us in one go, so why didn't he do that? Instead, it's like he's herding sheep." Yes, this was the most terrifying thing. This could only prove one thing: Autumnfall might have fallen. Su Nan was simply herding sheep into the pen and then killing them all in one go or capturing them. Before the battle, Zhu Lin's hair was only half white, but now, Qianqian's hair was completely white. Zhu Lin gritted his teeth and said, "Zhang Zhao, leave. Take a few hundred people with you. Take the young people of the Zhu family. Leave the South Phoenix Kingdom. Take the most outstanding young people in our army with you." Zhang Zhao was taken aback. Because of his extreme personality, he had always been unpopular. Now, Zhu Lin actually wanted him to leave? "You've always been the rear guard. This time, my 80,000 soldiers will be your rear guard. You can take the seeds of this army away," Zhu Kong said. Zhang Zhao was extremely touched. He knelt down and wailed, "Great General, why are you doing this? You take a few hundred men and leave, I'll cover you." Zhu Lin cried, "I'm the commander-in-chief in the South Phoenix Kingdom's battlefield. I've lost so badly. How can I still have the face to go back?" "Great General," Zhang Zhao said, "as long as there's life, there's hope." "Zhang Zhao," Zhu Kong said, "if I die, the Zhu family will still have a shred of dignity. If I escape back, the Zhu family will no longer have the face to survive in Yu country. Do you understand? I have to die." Zhang Zhao trembled and then kowtowed. "Great General, where should I go after I escape? Southern Heaven City? Should I be assisting Governor General Zhu Rong in setting up the defense there?" Zhang Zhao asked. "No, it's too late." Zhu Lin said painfully, "We are too incompetent. More than 200,000 of our main forces were completely lost in Nanyu. Now, Tianan province is completely empty. There are less than 10,000 troops in the defense line of Tianan City. They can't stop Jinjuan's army at all. Tianan City can't be saved, and Tianan Province can't be saved either. Zhang Zhao's scalp went numb. He couldn't even protect Tianan Province? Wouldn't that mean that the state of Yu would lose a quarter of its territory? Go to the capital directly and see my father, Zhu Kong said. Tell him what happened here. He should know what to do. Then, when you have an audience with His Majesty, tell him my last words. Immediately negotiate with Jin Jun and cede the 5 counties in the south of Tianan Province to him in exchange for Jin Jun to stop the war. If necessary, try to facilitate the alliance with the Imperial Army. After that, we'll use all our military forces to fight against Chu. Great General, Zhang Zhao said, trembling. Chu has gathered nearly 300,000 troops. Can we still win? The battle in the Nan and country had also completely destroyed the confidence of Zhang Zhao, a valiant general. Jin Jun only had 100,000 troops, yet he had beaten the 250,000 troops of Yu country to the point where they couldn't even fight back. What about the 300,000 soldiers of Chu? Could Yu country win with half of its territory? Zhu Lin nodded and said, as long as we stop the war with Jin Jun, we can still hold the West. Don't forget that we still have the Chang Kingdom as an ally. There are many Sand primitive mercenaries in the Chang Kingdom. They are not willing to fight with the Imperial Guards, but they are willing to fight with the Chu Kingdom. The northern part of Tianbei Province is the Zhong family's nest. Zhong Yao will definitely fight with all his might, so we can still hold the West. The key is to be fast. Zhu Lin was still worried and wrote a will. Inside, he scolded himself until there was not a single part of him left. Then, with the attitude of a dying man, he asked Ning Yuanxian to negotiate with Jin Jun and even form an alliance with his, so that they could concentrate on fighting against Chu. After writing his will, Zhu Lin stood up and bowed to Zhang Zhao. I'll leave everything to you, General Zhang. You must live on. This general acknowledges the order. Zhang Zhao knelt down on both knees and took Zhu Lin's will. That very night, Zhang Zhao led a few hundred of the most elite young men in the army, as well as the young general of the Zhu family, and broke away from the army, fleeing north through the dense forest. The next day, General Zhu Lin led 70,000 main forces and continued to advance east towards Autumnfall. In fact, it would be more appropriate to stay where they were or disband. But, firstly, he had wanted to attract Su Nan's main force to continue chasing and had ignored the team that Zhang Zhao had escaped from. All the outstanding young men of the Zhu family and the young talents of the army were there. For the sake of these family juniors, he, Zhu Lin, had to continue on the path to hell. Moreover, Zhu Lin needed a dignified way to die. A heroic death. This way, the Zhu family would still have some face. The next 260 miles took a full 12 days. Zhu Lin led an army that looked like beggars and appeared outside Autumnfall. At this moment, the army behind him was left with less than 50,000. This time, Jin Jun didn't play any tricks. The flag of the Great Southern Kingdom was hung in Autumnfall City. Great General Zhu Lin's 50,000-strong army was approaching the city. Behind him, Su Nan's 30,000-strong Sand barbarian main force had caught up. In front of them was a city that had been occupied by the enemy, and Jin Jun's 10,000-strong army was guarding it. Behind him was the main force of the Sand primitive tribe. The 50,000-strong main force of the Yu country had already entered the real hell. Great General Zhu Lin raised his head. He saw Jin Jun, the crown prince who had lost an arm, and Xuanji Nangong Ao. Sure enough, the worst situation was worse than he had imagined. Both of them had surrendered. Nangong Ao, I don't blame you. For the sake of the family, no matter what choice he made, it was the right choice. As for the crown prince Ningyi, Zhu Lin did not hate him. This was the crown prince that his Zhu family had supported. He was also the ideal crown prince in their hearts. Such a crown prince inheriting the throne would be the most beneficial to the Zhu family. It was easy to control. In the future, when the empire of Great Yen was preparing to unify the world, it would be easier for such an emperor to compromise. But there were no buts. Nangong Ao looked at Great General Zhu Lin with an expressionless face. As for Crown Prince Ning-yi, the shame in his eyes quickly passed, and his face quickly became expressionless. General Zhu Lin pulled out his sword and shouted, "Army of you country, follow me to take back Autumnfall City and eliminate Jin Jun. For the sake of you country, kill." Then Zhu Lin, whose hair and beard were all white, rushed out. Behind him, 2,000 of the most loyal soldiers of the Zhu family followed. However, the remaining 50,000 troops remained silent and did not move, watching Zhu Lin charge. "For the sake of the Yu country, for the sake of His Majesty, kill!" Zhu Lin shouted heroically. He kept charging towards Autumnfall City. There were originally 2,000 people charging behind him. However, some people saw that the tens of thousands of people behind them were still standing there. Hence, they stopped as well. In the end, the number of soldiers who followed Zhu Lin's charge to attack the city decreased. The entire battlefield. It was silent. Jin Jun, Nangong Ao, and Crown Prince Ning-yi silently watched Zhu Lin's charge. Behind them, the tens of thousands of soldiers of the Yu country silently watched their commander charge. The Sand Primitive Tribe army led by Su Nin also watched Zhu Lin charge quietly. If Shenlang saw it, they would think that it was a black and white silent film. It was a movie without sound. Zhu Lin shouted. But it seemed to be silent. The entire world was left with only gray. The scene. Perhaps it was even more despairing than Don Quixote's rush to the windmill. Jin Jun waved his hand. The arrows rained down. Tens of thousands of arrows rained down. More than 300 warriors of the Zhu family behind Zhu Lin were all killed. They were densely packed like porcupines. Zhu Lin continued to charge forward alone. "For the sake of you country, for the sake of His Majesty Xuanji," he roared. But in his heart he was thinking, "For father, for the Zhu family." Zhu Lin rushed towards the city wall alone, towards Jin Jun's 10,000-strong army. He used all his strength to climb up the city wall. He charged towards Jin Jun alone. "For His Majesty, for the Yu country, kill!" The sword in Zhu Lin's hand slashed towards Jin Jun. Jin Jun attacked at lightning speed. Swish! A head flew into the sky. Great General Zhu Lin's body, which had just rushed up the city wall, immediately fell back and his head was separated from his body. The Yu State's Pingnan general had died. The nearly 100,000 people present silently watched Zhu Lin's headless body fall to the ground. Jin Jun sheathed his sword. "This is the heroic death that you, Zhu Lin, want. I'll fulfill your wish." Below, the 50,000 soldiers of Yu country raised their heads and looked at Jin Jun. "Why, you're not going to surrender? Aren't you going to say anything? Even a sentence would be good. As long as you say the word, we will kneel and surrender." Jin Jun looked at the 50,000 soldiers indifferently and turned to leave. Suddenly, he was stunned. The 50,000 soldiers of the Yu country were all trembling with fear. They dropped their weapons and knelt on the ground. "We surrender, we surrender." The 50,000-strong army watched helplessly as the commander-in-chief, Zhu Lin, knelt down and surrendered after his death. At this point, the war of the South Phoenix Nation had completely ended. The 250,000-strong army of Yu country was completely annihilated.